Okay, well, it is 7:02. We're going to get the ball rolling. Thank you all for joining us this evening for another episode of the SORBA Sessions webinar series. We are fortunate enough to have the crew from the North Carolina NICA League, and I'll have Brian introduce his team for you guys here in just a second. But reminders, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask them. Put them in the chat if we're in the middle of a conversation. If you want to bring attention, raise your hand, use the hand raise function in Zoom. And I'm going to turn it over to Brian and get going.
All right. Thank you so much, Philip. And I want to start by thanking SORBA writ large for the great support this league has gotten from your organization. And thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we're doing in North Carolina to hopefully change the face of youth cycling and youth mountain biking in particular. We've got a lot of cool things going on with our young mountain bikers here in North Carolina, particularly part of our Teen Trail Corp program. And we're going to spend the bulk of our time talking about that. But I just wanted to say we've got such a great connection with our chapters, SORBA chapters in North Carolina. And thanks to Jim Grover, the North Carolina rep, for helping us set all those things up. I've been in the seat for about 2 years as league director, and I continue to learn this fact that nothing happens without community. And so we've got a wonderful community here, SORBA and NICA, and just a lot of other organizations across the Southeast just trying to make trails better. And that's part of what we're doing. So if we can go to the next slide, let me walk everyone through what we'll talk about tonight. I'll spend just a little bit of time talking about North Carolina NICA, kind of who we are, what we do day in, day out. But then I'm going to turn it over to two folks on the staff who really do amazing jobs with getting more kids on bikes and getting more kids out on trail. I'll turn it over to Shell Frost. She is our programs director to talk about how we do what we do in North Carolina. And then Shell will turn it over to Leonard Van Hoos, who is our Teen Trail Corp coordinator, to talk about what it looks like getting kids and teams out on the trail to help improve them. Looks a lot like that young man right there with a lot of dirt in that world, but he's not afraid. Look at him. He's leaning in. He is excited to help build out that trail system right there. And that's what we want to talk about. And really maybe what's on everyone's mind is, how do you connect with the NICA team? What does that look like? SORBA and NICA working together in the same space. And we'll close out with the questions you mentioned, Philip. We'll make sure those are answered here tonight. And again, thank you for this opportunity. So Shell, if you go to the next slide, and I'll talk just a little bit about North Carolina NICA. That's our mission on the slide. We are really about building lifelong mountain bikers, and that comes in a lot of different flavors. It can be the young man right there in the middle of one of our races. It can be the young man we saw before with a wheelbarrow full of dirt. It can be a long ride with friends. It's a whole host of things. And so we do race, but it's more than racing. It is taking care of the trail systems that we all benefit from. And so it's a youth development organization. We just happen to use mountain bikings to bring out character and build some community across the state of North Carolina. We're going into our 9th season. We've been around a little while, and we are a spring league. So if you contact anyone across North Carolina NICA right now, we're kind of in the off season. We'll get started again in October with registration, some preseason events. But you will see us kind of full force in the spring with our event series, and really doing the bulk of the trail work we do throughout the season. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit is just this idea that this doesn't happen by itself. With NICA, national organization, 31 state leagues across 29 states. The hashtag is more kids on bikes. It's really more families on bikes. So many of our coaches are parents of these kids, and those are the leaders like, Leonard and Michelle, getting the things organized to get out there and doing it part and parcel with the local community. That is our focus, to do anything as it comes to trail work, and really anything in the local community. And we're trying to instill that sense in our kids from the very earliest stages. This is all about community, and part of being a mountain biker is actually giving back to that community. And I'll just pause there on the North Carolina NICA things. Another thank you, Philip, to you for inviting us on the SORBA Stories podcast last month. If anyone wants to know more about North Carolina NICA, check out the SORBA Stories podcast, and we can field any questions about NC NICA writ large towards the end. But let me turn it over to Shel Frost now. Again, she is our programs director, the things that happen at the league level, from activities and events to help enable all of those things going on with our kids. That's what Shel is responsible for. So she'll talk a little bit about how we're doing it in North Carolina. Shel, over to you.
Thanks, Brian. So in North Carolina, lifelong mountain bikers and building them looks a lot different than what one might think when they think mountain biking league. Sometimes people think that just means racing, or if you say mountain biking to someone, they might automatically think Red Bull Rampage, which can be really intimidating if you ask a kid if they want a mountain bike. Our focus in our league is just building these lifelong mountain bikers from the ground up to be well-rounded mountain bikers. So that means introducing our youth to all aspects of mountain biking. So that could be anything from trail work to just getting out and riding with your friends, exploring new places, learning about navigation. There's so many different aspects of that we're trying to help them build confidence in. So we like to call it Programs Fusion in North Carolina. And what we're doing with this Programs Fusion is building full spectrum mountain bikers. We have multiple different programs in our league. We have Adventure, which is centered around experiential learning, just getting out, exploring with your friends, riding new places, navigation skills, planning rides, what you need to do to take care of your bike if you run into a problem. Coaches learning about fixing mechanical issues to first aid to planning the route, everything you need to know, and making student athletes part of that in a way to help grow their skills as well. We have a GRIT program, which is focused around recruiting and retaining female student athletes, which a lot of people don't realize does not work without the males in our league as well. So we have a really awesome GRIT community in North Carolina. Run a mentor program for our new female student athletes, which is led by our experienced female student athletes. We have a leadership pathway in there for GRIT ambassadors. We in North Carolina have Teen Trail Corp program, which we also have ambassadors in, working on that trail stewardship piece. And of course, competition. So ultimately, we're hoping that we get not only the kids who love to mountain bike and love to race mountain bikes coming into our league, but that any kid that shows up and is like, I'm just gonna see what this is about, I'm not really confident yet, or the ones that I see a lot within our programs outside of competition are the ones that are like, I'm here because my dad made me and I'm not racing. And I'm like, that's great. We're really glad you're here. And sometimes the piece that gets them hooked is Adventure or GRIT or Teen Trail Corp, that they find ways that aren't quite as intimidating to them at the beginning, that they really love. And they grow that passion for mountain biking, and that helps them build that community Brian was talking about and the confidence. So they end up just wanting to do all the things on bikes with those friends, and they end up doing competition as well and loving it. So a lot of different pieces coming together to build these full spectrum mountain bikers in our league. So speaking of Teen Trail Corps, I'm gonna hand it over to our Teen Trail coordinator, Leonard, who's gonna tell you a little bit more about what we're doing in that program.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm the North Carolina NICA Teen Trail Corps coordinator. I do not enjoy speaking in public, but I do it because of the kids. I am very passionate about it, and these kids, there's so many stories that come out of it. Good, positive stories. But Teen Trail Corps is basically an opportunity to get the student athletes involved in trail care efforts and to use their voices to advocate for more trails. There's nothing more rewarding to those student athletes than to ride a piece of trail that they'd worked on. In that earlier picture, those berms that the racer was coming around was 92 wheelbarrow loads full of dirt. That we had 3 different teams there. They mined the dirt and hauled it in and built the berms. And the trail coordinator was like, we need to do this more often. But the whole day, the berms are kind of going down a hill. So I just like to sit back and watch. The kids beep when they back the wheelbarrows up. They run back up the hill trying to ride the berm. They never get tired. Then we get done with it. We put in about 4 hours there before race weekend. Then they go ride their bikes for an hour. It amazes me. And it's Teen Trail Corp is also a non-competition focused way to develop a passion for mountain biking, to build community. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the strongest. It's just a whole nother opportunity, not only for the youth, but coaches as well. You make meaningful connections and take a lot of pride in what they do. And it's just another way to play bikes. If you're playing bikes, it's all good. Just another way to do it. We have an ambassador program for TTC in North Carolina. We had 4 this year. It was the first year we had them. I don't think we have ambassadors throughout the league. I think North Carolina is the only one. I'm not sure. But we require a little more out of them. Like they work on event weekends, busy for the kids. They work at least 1 hour at the tent. I couldn't hardly run them all. They wanted to be over there out in the woods working. We make them maintain constant communication regarding TTC. Sometimes that's a struggle to get a hold of a teenager, but we're going to work on that a little more. They have to attend ambassador calls. They have to log a minimum of 15 Trail Corps hours during the seasons. And 15 hours doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. When the kids go into school, they've got chores, they've got stick and ball sports. That's a lot of time for those kids to put in. And they assist their Teen Trail Corps coach. We have a Teen Trail Corps coach on each team to try to facilitate more trail work opportunities. And we want them to attend at least one local SORBA chapter meeting during the season. And they have to be on TTC Snap for communication. Next slide, Shell. So this year we had what was called Teen Trail Corps Week. We set a whole week aside to go out and mingle with our SORBA chapters, get work days on the calendar, and just go out and work on trails. So we set now this is the whole season. My fault. We set a season goal for 3,000 hours between all of our teams in the state, and we actually logged 4,100 hours. We invested in 59 trail systems in North Carolina, and we had TTC activities at all preseason and regular season events. Hands-on trail care in advance of 75% of our races. So we actually went out and worked on the adventure courses we used and the race courses we used before the race. And the kids really enjoyed it. The next slide. Now we're on Trail Corps Week. This was new to me. I didn't know, and I'm a trail coordinator at one of the Tar Heel Trailblazers trails, Sherman Branch. And I've worked a lot with my team. So I just put it out there for our SORBA chapter. I would be there every day. So different teams showed up. And what I noticed, it's the same. It doesn't matter what team it is or what group of kids, they love being out there. And they're like an army of ants. When you give them a project, it's done. It's over. They like that particular crew there is a Cabarrus County team. They built a couple ladder bridges. And they had 2 girls with them. So I'm just being silly. I'm like, y'all should carry the girls out there on the ladder bridges because we had to build them there where it was flat. So they carried those girls a mile on those ladder bridges. And it was fun the whole time for them. But we set a goal for 1,000 hours that week. And we actually got a little over 1,100 hours. We partnered and worked with 9 different advocacy groups and hosted more than 25 events that week. Next slide. So for recognition for these student athletes. I think they come out pretty good. Y'all might recognize Jim Grover there in the middle. He was at our awards. And that young lady right there, what we say well-rounded mountain biker, that's her. She won her middle school advanced class. She logged 80.5 trail core hours during the season. So to reward these kids, we give over 500 TTC race plate badges. They get one race plate for the season, and we have these little badges. They can do different activities, grit, adventure, and they can put these stickers on their nameplates or number plates. We give away 74 Trail Advocate t-shirts. Different hours got them different levels of prizes. 54 pairs of custom gloves from Cognitive MTB. The adults wanted the gloves, but you can't buy them. You got to earn them as a student athlete. We gave out medals, and a local bike shop donated 5 back slope Clydes. I'm sure y'all know what that's like, their version of a McLeod. They're just really, really light, and they're stackable and lockable. So the top 5 student athletes in the state all received a back slope Clyde. Trail Week pizza party for our winning team that week, the team that logged the most hours, and flags for the top 3 teams. And Brian, I think that one's you.
Hey, for Leonard or maybe Shell, before I close with kind of the overview and we go to questions, could either one of you describe the model of working with a NICA team? There's kind of 2 ways we do it. There's kind of our event, and then there's like someone else's event. Can you briefly walk through how that looks and what the differences are between the 2 types of working together? I think that might be helpful for the SORBA folks.
Leonard, do you want to tackle that one?
I'm trying to remember.
I can do it. So if it is a SORBA or partner organization hosted event, our teams go to an event that is being hosted by a SORBA chapter in their area. It's under the SORBA's insurance, signing those waivers when they're connecting with them, and making sure that one of the things we were asking our Teen Trail Corp coaches to be very mindful of is that the folks that they're bringing are a group that's aligned well with the goal that SORBA event has in mind. So we recognize sometimes showing up with 30 middle schoolers might not be ideal if you're expecting 6 adults. So having really good communication with those SORBA chapters has been really key to us building those positive relationships and really growing that. And then we also have team hosted events where, for example, in Caldwell County, our head coach is the trail manager of the trail that we practice on, and our team organized some trail work events that was just our team. It's under NICA insurance as a NICA sanctioned event. So SORBA events or partner events are under that organization. And our team events are under NICA insurance.
Hey, thanks for that, Shell, because I thought a few questions might come from that realm. Like, hey, I want to work with NICA team. Like, how does that really work? And where is liability and like? And we're happy to field some more questions. Shell, could you go back to the Browns Creek picture real quick? So Greg Brinson and Dave Droke. And I just, Philip, if you don't mind, I just want to close with a couple thoughts about, you know, what we're trying to do with youth advocacy here. Like, look at the Army behind Greg Brinson, President Cape Fear SORBA. Greg rarely smiles, but you can see the smile cracking on his face. He's got 30, 40 kids marching behind him to go work on a trail system. And I think maybe a lot of your members can, you know, kind of sympathize with the difficulties getting folks to come out and do some trail work. And we're trying to start right from the beginning. You know, hey kids, you got to do this. This isn't like ball fields. This isn't like ball sports where the county builds your soccer field. And I think we all know that. Like you gotta be invested in this thing. And so we're doing that really well in concert with a lot of our SORBA chapters. And, you know, quite honestly, these are your future SORBA members. marching behind Greg Brinson. And again, thanks to SORBA for launching, we launch our kids from the nest after 12th grade. All of our seniors for 2 seasons now have gone and become members of their North Carolina SORBA local chapters. And this is community, and we want them lifelong. And it's just great. So thank you for that. And then just one more thought before we go to questions. It really is changing the conversations for me at the league level in a couple different ways. I remember being up in Mayodan for one of our races, early 6:30 Sunday morning, raining all night, and a decision was coming from the trail boss, like, hey, can we race today or not? And the decision was yes, because we had those 40 kids all across his trail system the day before taking care of it. And we had guys like Leonard and Ron Chaney out clearing the drains the day before. It rained. And now when I'm engaging with communities and looking for places for the league to host events, they want us to come because they know we're going to take care of the place. And I think that's part of it too. It's just trying to build that kind of sense that, hey, you take care of the place, you go. And I think Shell is giving me a hint about that aspect of more families on bikes and just the good we're doing for families across North Carolina. And these are fairly mirrored across all of NICA, is that when you get a family out in the woods on their bikes and not on their phones and connecting with friends from across the state, this is the results of that. We just see that time and time again in our end of season surveys, that everyone's feeling great about themselves, feeling much better fit, and just more self-confidence. We're doing a lot of good, but a lot of this comes from, just like Leonard said, going out and working on trail with my buds. It's fun, and they're doing great work. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about how we're doing that here in North Carolina. And I think we'd be happy to take any questions at this point.
Brian, thank you so much. That was a really great presentation, and hopefully everybody's that's both live and going to be viewing on the on YouTube knows why we asked for y'all to present this, because from our perspective, the North Carolina League is at the lead of all of the leagues within our region about the involvement with their local SORBA chapter. Robert, you got your hand up. Let's get you with a question first.
No, thanks, Philip, and Brian, Shell, and Leonard. Thanks for your presentation. I really enjoyed your podcast. I listened to it last week. I'm a coach for the Alabama Cycling Association. We're an independent league. Down here in Alabama, I coach work days. I've done work days with youth in the past where it's a lot of herding cats if you don't have enough foremen to help the task. Could you I guess what I'm trying to do is, could you go through the logistics of how you plan a typical trail workday, as far as going out doing your survey of trail maintenance trouble areas, deciding, I guess, could you walk us through from the inception of, you see an issue on the trail that needs worked, and how do you plan your trail event going from there?
I think, Leonard, why don't we start with you, and I can address a couple league level things too, but Leonard, I think over to you.
Sure. Like if we're going to work at a venue other than mine, me and a friend of mine, we'll go assess the trail, we'll ride the trail, we'll look for jobs, we'll talk to the local trail boss, see if he's got anything. I mean, we're good with just raking drains, but we'll see if he's got any projects he'd like to have done. I keep the tools with me. We show up with our own tools. Whatever kids come, there's always a leader in the group. Like we did one work day, and it happened to be a senior young lady. And it's another fun part of trail work. It's like, I'm working for you. We got to do this, this, and this. How are we going to do this? And that empowered her. She played her radio. We didn't have to redirect a whole lot. She was a great supervisor. She got 92 loads of dirt in and out and packed. And those berms, it was just a fun day. But I try to let the kids do as much as they can within reason with minimum supervision. I mean, I always direct them and help them, but the kids will amaze you. Like we did a rock armoring project, and I've got a picture of, I believe he's a freshman in high school, and they wanted the height of the rocks just right. He is laying on wet ground because the trail was closed because of water. We'd had rain, trying to get those level, moving rocks. But we'll try to break them up in different tasks, always with an adult, and usually 2 coaches. And the kids pretty much take it from there. They take it and run with it. And you know, I'm 55 years old, so I get tired. It's like, do they not get? I don't remember not getting tired like that. And you got to redirect them every now and then, but it's all fun. It's all. But I usually our ambassadors lead our safety briefs. Because they've heard it, they know it. I think the kids respond better to them talking about their death circle than they would me. Yeah, that's usually how we'll have our projects ahead of time, and then we'll go tackle them. We went and did a work day at Purser Halsey. It's a Trailblazers chapter trail. And the trail coordinator had 2 hours of work planned. So he makes a post on the Trailblazers social media. He said, you got 2 hours of work planned, and a whole NICA team shows up, did 2 miles of drains, built 2 new berms, and ate 36 hot dogs in record time. That was only half the team. It's like they just and they're talking with each other. It's just fun for them. I've stopped saying trail work, or in the process of, I call it trail care, because it's a whole lot more fun than work.
If I can just add on to something Leonard touched on that I think is a really big deal, whether that's planning a team trail work event, trail care, or league level one, is those opportunities for student athletes to lead when you're looking at planning a work day, what work needs to be done. If you can look at it through the perspective of like, where can I give student athletes an appropriate opportunity to lead, because when Leonard said when they see other student athletes leading, I think they see that and they're like, this is a way that I could be a leader as well, and that they are taking ownership of this trail, and the impact that they're able to have in something bigger than themselves. I think that gets them really excited to be able to be a part of that. So
Awesome. Thanks.
I'll make a couple comments. You know, how do we scale this across the league? We've got some work to do. I think Leonard mentioned a Teen Trail Corp coach on each team. We did that for the first time last season. We do find that we just have coaches that are, you know, interested, knowledgeable, experienced on trail work, and we're giving them an opportunity to exercise some leadership to do a lot of that logistics planning you mentioned down at the team level. The other thing we did this last season to make it a little bit easier for them is Shell, if you have it handy, great. If not, but our Adventure Passport. So it was a booklet of activities for all the kids to do across all these areas of mountain biking we talked about. And one section of that was trail. So a coach could take the Adventure Passport at the beginning of the season and go, okay, I'm going to sprinkle these across the entire practice season. And some were as simple as picking up trash at the trailhead, but it got you a cool No Trace Ninja sticker. That was my favorite one letter, by the way. Like, I love my No Trace Ninja.
Me too.
Sticker. Yeah, that thing is great. But I do think we have some work to do on the training aspect for our coaches, because again, we are just relying on those that are already knowledgeable and have a passion for it. Perhaps, I've said this before, perhaps the most dangerous thing we do in NICA isn't racing. We're so well structured over a decade or more of that, of course marshals and EMS and evaluating courses. But Leonard mentioned the circle of death. I had never heard that until last season when I saw him and Ron Chaney doing a class on circle of death. And so maybe the most dangerous thing we do in NICA is take kids out on trail work. And how are we equipping our coaches to be knowledgeable of all those things? I think we collectively, North Carolina and NICA, have some work to do to equip our coaches to do it safely as well.
if I can piggyback on what Brian just said. Also, I think one of the biggest benefits that we've seen with implementing the idea of Teen Trail Corps coaches. So we've had some teams that are heavily engaged in trail work every season, and we've had some that just aren't. And opening that opportunity for every team to have a designated Teen Trail Corps coach. Robert, when you mentioned having a lack of like foreman or someone to lead the trail work, having a Teen Trail Corps coach on every team really opened the door to invite those who didn't have a lot of experience to learn more and ask questions, so that if they were willing to be that person and they just didn't have that experience yet, we could help bridge that gap to get more people out there leading. And we had a first-time Teen Trail Corps ambassador this season who was the perfect example, in addition to our other ambassador that Leonard was talking about, of those full spectrum mountain bikers. One of our favorite pictures from a league event this year was this ambassador out doing trail work during an event weekend with her podium socks that she won by placing on podium, her name tag as a not only Teen Trail Corps ambassador, but a grid ambassador as well, out doing trail work with other student athletes and leading by example. But she's clearly learned that from her mom, because her mom reached out to me this season, and she wasn't a coach. She's just a parent that wanted to know if there was a way that she could help fill the Teen Trail Corps coach role without being a coach, because their team didn't have anyone to do it. And I told her that she did actually need to be a coach, but if she wanted to, I'd be more than happy to talk to her about how to do that. And it's very, very simple. And she could help in such a big way if she just wanted to do that. She did. And she showed up for all the things with her daughter. She was a huge help this season. And she came in just as a mom that was like, I don't really know anything about this, but I want to support my kids' interest in this. And she turned into a huge asset. So I think just giving that opportunity for people to learn how to be that person you need, even if they're not yet, is a really key piece.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of that question, and I also have an additional question. I think one of the best ways that we can get coaches trained and knowledgeable about how to lead work days is to facilitate a trail crew leader class for NICA coaches, be it at like a coaches summit or something like that. These are traditionally like a 2-day class, but it's one that we partner with a number of instructors, and it's all about leading people on work days and breaking down the day from the parking lot talk to assessing trail of what needs to be done to how to celebrate the achievements afterward. So I think that would be a great solution to be able to empower your coaches. And you have kid ambassadors, but you could also have coach ambassadors for the program as well. And then
I think it's just awesome that you have other incentives as far as your trail crew and your adventure side for kids to see results and I guess get rewarded for other than just racing. So I think that's awesome, because you got, especially like with our team. I mean, we have a few kids that podium. I know our Aggies won the state championship last year, but I mean, you got a whole bunch of other kids on the team that love to ride, but they also love to do trail work and just, adventure as well too. So I think that's awesome. The stickers and everything you guys have.
I think it's really neat that offering those different opportunities for them to become those like full spectrum mountain bikers really provides a lot of different opportunities they might not otherwise get, where we see a lot of our most competitive kids interacting with some of our newest kids in really big ways, that they're forming these friendships that they might not otherwise make if they were only meeting out on the race course. And then when they do, it kind of changes that playing field when you're brand new and nervous and the person at the head of the pack and you've done trail work next to them. That really helps build that community and their confidence. So it's really cool how to see that work on so many different levels from both ends of the spectrum, from the least experienced riders to the most experienced.
And so my question, and we talked a little bit about it in the podcast, but I'm hoping to elaborate some here, is what's the ideal workday? Because, you know, I've seen it even happen a lot of times that you have considerations for a NICA or a youth workday, and you're putting them on pretty simple and remedial tasks. But what is your thoughts on what an ideal workday should be for a league and for a team?
Like I said, the kids are actually happy to rake drains, but if you throw a couple armoring projects in there or some berms, ladder bridges are simple. I cut all the lumber and they just put them together and carry them, and then they have to level them, get them in the ground. Anything like that, they love. We use a lot of pavers in our wet spots, you know, that constantly they just take a beating and the tread's gone, and they love putting those pavers in. And I seen a 70-pound girl move 20 pavers one day. It's like, wow, just because they wanted to get it done. But like I said, they're happy raking drains and cutting face slappers. But I always try to look for at least one project. Like, a lot of our berms are reinforced with wood and stakes. I'll let them do stuff like that. They can put new stakes in and screw the wood to it, but they're artists with rocks. I can promise you that. They've got to get them just right, and even they have fun and enjoy it, even picking up trash. Granted, they may race a wheelbarrow every now and then or a wagon, but they'll go out and pick up trash for hours. It doesn't take a lot to. Nah, they're good with anything, but I do try to look, because I have 800 drains. I manage a 12-mile loop in Charlotte, and there's 800 drains. So by the time I get done, it's time to start over. But I look for other stuff, and it's all stuff that needs to be done.
I know
Like,
that
if you ever need any aggregate moved to fill in, like low spots in the tread, you need a NICA team.
I know that Sean Moore mentioned a trail work day where we were rock armoring, and it was planned for maybe 2 hours, and it went on for like 6 hours. And my children were those children. So for me, like, thinking about how to plan a trail work day for a NICA team or student athletes, honestly, one of the best things is something that is a heck of a lot of work, but it's safe for kids to do. Man, those kids will knock it right out. And if you give them some heavy lifting to do, they take a lot of pride in having accomplished something that was tough and took some serious elbow grease to get it done. But as a mom, when I got introduced to the mountain biking community, some of the first people we got connected with was our local SORBA chapter, the Northwest North Carolina Mountain Bike Alliance. And for my kids, our team having trail work days that connected them with those people in the larger mountain bike community really helped my kids see North Carolina as home. But what that ultimately translated to is it helped my kids see anywhere there's a mountain biking community as home. My kids came from New York, but they can now go anywhere in North Carolina and go to a trail work day, and they are talking to people like they've known them forever. And that stemmed from our team getting connected with those SORBA chapters and them getting to work next to these people who have helped put these trails here, right from the planning stages when it was nothing but a field or trees, and get to hear about that process and take a little bit of ownership in that and meet those people that now they can go and take that hopefully anywhere they go as adults, that they're going to be able to tap into a community somewhere. I think that is part of the like most magical part of a trail work day with student athletes or a NICA team, is that you're able to tap into that community beyond just NICA, because they're going to be able to take that with them as lifelong mountain bikers anywhere they go.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
what I'm
where will the
hearing
water
is
go?
not necessarily just easy projects. Like, it can be hard. You don't have to assume that because it's a bunch of kids that you need to give them easy projects. you can give them something hard, and with some supervision and maybe some hot dogs afterwards, you can entice them to do some pretty hard work.
I will say this, when I first started, because I didn't know trail work was a thing for the kids. I just didn't. Go out to the trail and do what I need to do. But I did it wrong at first. I would wait till I capitalized on the weather. When it rained and we couldn't practice, I'm thinking, we take the kids out there, they can work. I don't have to worry about bike traffic. Those kids are more savvy with bike traffic than I am. So after I thought about it, it's like, no, I kind of want the public to see these kids working. So I started taking them, didn't matter. If we planned a work day, we had a work day, rain, shine, whatever. Trail's open, it's open, we'll ride afterwards. But the people that do thank those kids, you talk about a kid's face lighting up. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I did that. That's the one thing I would say I did wrong for a whole season. I wouldn't let them go work unless it was closed. Now, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're usually telling me, Ryder.
Yeah, that is such a great point. Just so so people can see that these kids are out there passionate about what they're doing and working. Like we battle the misconception that trails are maintained by city workers, state park employees. And so I think that, you could even have the misconception as you see some adults out there working on trail that they could still be those city workers or whatever, especially if you don't have a sign out that says, we're with this group. But if you see a bunch of kids, that it's not, it's not some employee that's out there working. It's some kids given their free time. So I think that's such a great point. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, anybody else have any questions before we sign off for the evening?
I do. I want to hear a little bit more about how you mentioned the youth using their voices to advocate for more trails. From just, these kids are they're getting an education to go on and do something else, right? And so if these kids can have that experience of interacting with adults or signing a petition or doing something to make change, that's so impactful for their own future too, and the future of the trail systems that they're affecting. What example do you have that showcases that interaction of the kids being the advocates?
In my area where I live right now, we had a 600-acre plot of land that was bought by the county. And they wanted to build hiking trails, mountain bike trails, soccer fields, things like that on it. And it makes business, it does make sense. Tax revenues in housing developments. We got enough housing developments. So they would have the public come by so the kids could go there. You sign the petition, you show up for the meetings. And there is another one coming up. It's actually for a different park here. And we encourage them to go. And they may tell you no, but it's really hard to tell a kid no when they'll talk about just getting out in the woods, getting unplugged. And I think that's part of mountain biking. It's just happy to be out in the woods. It's whether you're working, you're walking. But yeah, there's those opportunities right now. And I know we're going to have a NICA event in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. It's going to come. 16 miles of trail on 600 acres.
To add to what Leonard was saying, so we enrolled a Teen Trail Corp ambassador program this past season, which I was really excited about because our ambassador program has been a phenomenal opportunity for our student athletes to take a leadership role, and they've done amazing with it. It's amazing what they think of to do, because who knows better than them what they want out of this sport and this league. than them. So to be able to do that within Teen Trail Corp was really exciting, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. They did a phenomenal job, our first 4 ambassadors. So this season, we're actually enrolling a senior ambassador role for our Teen Trail Corp program as well, to give them more of a structured leadership pathway as well. And so I'm excited to reach out to our local SORBA chapters and connect with them to see how we can get those senior ambassadors more closely connected with those SORBA chapters. And we've created a syllabus of like earning badges for those senior ambassadors, and being able to communicate with those chapters is probably going to be very key in us continuing to evolve what that program looks like, so that we can get them really involved in the background, but really on the forefront with their SORBA chapters or their local advocacy groups. So I'm excited to see what that will evolve into, just starting it this season. But I've got big hopes because we've got some really motivated student athletes. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that.
That's great. Thank you so much. We got time for one last question if anybody else has a question. And if not, Shell, Leonard, Brian, thank you all so much for giving your time tonight to present this with us. Your team is in North Carolina is a model for what NICA leagues should be doing and interacting with our organizations. And I hope that we can share this out wide so that more states are going to adopt what your team is doing, because y'all are doing a great job. So thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for joining us for this evening.
Well, thank you again for having us. And Shell, if you back up one slide just real quick, because I forgot to mention it. Anyone in SORBA wants to get in touch with anyone in NICA across Southeast, contact me. You know, we got some contact details there on the slide. But Philip, absolutely right. Let's get connected. Let's keep this going across the Southeast, doing it together like the community should. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you all so much.
All right, and with that, we'll sign off for this episode of the SORBA Sessions. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great evening. Take care.
Thanks.